With the new water body, we also got new lures in the game, and one version of these lures are the spinnerbaits. We're going to take a closer look at those now. Check out how this whole thing is supposed to work in theory and what the differences are between the two versions of spinnerbaits that we currently have in the game. So, when we look at the spinnerbaits, we've got different versions, and these versions are extremely important because the two types have different areas of use. We can recognize the different spinnerbaits by the type of blade that's attached to the wire on top. These are the actual spinners that rotate when retrieved and that then spin and reflect. Here we have the Colorado version, so more of a round spinner blade. And right next to it, we have the Willow variant. These are more of a long, narrow blade. What characteristics these two different versions have? That's what we're going to take a detailed look at now. And for which situations and with which retrieve style these different spinnerbaits are suitable, that's what we're going to check out. So the first thing I'm typing into the search is Colorado. Now we can see all the Colorado spinnerbaits here. I bought 2 of each version, so we can now see everything nicely in detail. The different sizes with different gram weights and always slightly different blades. Most of these are hammered, so we've got hammered blades here which reflect even better. But that's actually not the main job of these blades. In theory, the shape of the blades is more important because it creates strong pressure waves underwater, whereas the willows, they're meant to reflect more light and create less of a pressure wave. That makes sense, since they're long and narrow, they cause less turbulence in the water. The most important thing, of course, with all versions is that we have to test the colors and figure out which color and maybe even which blade shape is currently working best for the target fish. So what are the fish looking for right now? And here, we've really got a huge selection. Some are longer, some are shorter, various colors. That means when we buy these spinnerbaits, we still always have to test the different colors, and of course, always based on the current weather conditions. So let's list all the pros, or rather the important points for Colorado spinnerbaits. The most important thing, the blade is egg-shaped. So we're looking at a relatively short and round blade here. That means these spinnerbaits create much more water pressure, and they're great for fishing in murky water or even at night. Another advantage is they also work really well near the surface. You can let them sink down from there again and again. So this effect of dropping down, that's supposed to work especially well with the Colorado version, which means for retrieve styles, we can use stop and go, we can slowly reel them in or reel them in at a medium pace. I already made a cast just now, and we can now see the spinnerbait in action. I've already tested different combinations here for over an hour, and now I'm trying a new color again. With speed 5, that often worked quite well, somewhere around 5 or 6, so fairly slow. With speed 3, I'm already seeing that flickering effect in the action bar, and I've really been watching for that flickering. Especially when I retrieve a bit faster, you want to pick a speed where that flickering pops back up again. That's always a bit different from reel to reel, but also from lure to lure. So there's no number you can set and say, speed 10 is ideal. That just doesn't exist. You simply have to test and try it out, depending on your setup and your lure. One huge advantage all spinnerbaits have, they're great for pulling through weeds. So that means they're highly snag resistant. Oh, we've already got a bite. The spinnerbaits have very, very high snag protection. That's just one of the basic features of spinnerbaits because they're really well shielded by the wire arm. So, what have we got here? Oh look, a little pumpkin seed. Took the small spinnerbait right back into the water with it. Just cast it out loosely and then retrieve it smoothly again. Right now it's dusk, so I'll try reeling in a bit slower during twilight and let it sink a little more. That way we try to target the fish that are closer to the bottom right now and try to trigger them. And there we go, fish on. So that really worked, not just in theory, but also now in practice, very well. And the next little pumpkin seed. So now, let's take a look at the Willow version. The Willow version, again, refers to the blade shape. That means we have a narrow blade that spins quickly and ideally reflects a lot of light. This version is generally more suited for sunny conditions. So, for bright days and for predatory fish that respond more to visual cues. Just by looking at the size, you can already tell this is a great method for pike as well. We've got the blade in silver and one in gold, both great colors for sunny days. So it's definitely an option to use these to target pike in the sun. Let's look at the facts again. So important, Willow spinnerbaits create less water pressure but have a strong reflection. Retrieve is usually faster, so they tend to stay closer to the surface. You can retrieve them quickly and they still work great, but they also work really well at depth. With the Willow version, clear water is always an advantage. I can also totally imagine this version working well at quarry. With the double Willow 38 grams, size 004, I actually already managed to catch my first rock bass. And I caught it right here at this exact spot. Cast out, reeled it in, done. And of course here too, you have to test again which speed works best. I've just cast the Willow again, and I'm now trying it really slowly, closer to the bottom. Still, you can see the action bar flickering again. So the spinner is moving. We've got rotation. And we can adjust that again if we want to speed it up. Around speed 2 or 3, you get back into that rotation zone with that flickering. And here too, you can always throw in a bit of stop and go. But that's just something every player can try out for themselves. So here it's really important to think about how we want to retrieve the lure and where it'll be most effective. Yeah, that's it for the spinnerbaits for now. So now it's time to test and try things out. If this helped you, drop a like, don't forget to subscribe, that really helps me a lot, and then I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. Till then, tight lines.